In this lecture, we're going to look at how to post our look to the backend. This will involve downloading the image using our request module and saving it to a folder. It requires some interesting code. Before that, let's clarify our folder structure and how we're using Express routing system to create our API. Start out by opening our image scraper folder contents and our routes.js file. You may recall that when making a post, we are querying API/look/scrape, which you can see being used right here, and the scrape is right here, which calls on the controller.scrape method located in our image scraper controller. Now, we're going to create our first look route and name it scrape upload. So in this file, we're going to only make it accessible to authenticated users. And when posting to this route, we're going to look at our controller, in particular a method that's called scrape upload. So let's create that method now. We'll go into our look controller in our look folder. This is our controller function for our post route. It may look a bit daunting, but once you see how everything works, it will all make perfect sense. And looking at this, we notice something new, a utils variable. This will contain two methods that will help us to download our image, save it to a folder with a randomized string name. You can either copy everything over now, or download the file from the included files. While you're doing that, I'm going to explain this method a little bit. I will go into these two methods more when we actually create these two files. But for now, we'll take a look at this design pattern. This is a pretty standard way of getting and posting to our model schema. We will declare a variable called newLook and set it to our look, which is defined at the top of our file and requires our model. From there, we'll have access to all the variables that we defined within our look schema. These variables are all defined on the left-hand side, so you may note that title, image, email, etc. are all parts of our look schema, and everything on the right is what we'll define on the front end. Some of the time you may see request.body passed in as a parameter to our look. That's one way. Another way is to explicitly declare our objects on the front end and then pass it to the back end. So once we've defined everything that our schema entails, we save our schema object, and if there's an error, we log it, and if not, we'll respond with the item itself. And one other quick note, some of the time I describe the document that we're creating in MongoDB as object, or I describe these as variables. They're not. They're part of a key value pair, and we're storing documents that are also known as collections. And with that said, let's create our utils file and our corresponding methods. We'll go into our server folder. Let's take a look at these files side by side. In our controller, we're calling the download URI method. Download URI method uses request, passes in a URL, which we're defining as request.body.image. In this function, we're passing a URL, a file name, and a callback. URL is what we're passing into request, and as mentioned, it's request body image, which is the image from the Pinterest server that we're passing in. The next argument is the location of where the image will be. We can use pipe, which will download the URL and passing in the file name, so again the location of where the image is going to be. So we're going to put the image at this location, and we're going to attach a random string to the image followed by .png. So we have to specify exactly what the name of the image will be in order for request to work. If you would like more information on how to use request, you can do so by going to the request module, and you can see here's an example of using request, and here's an example of something similar to what we're doing, which is piping in the request in order to download the image and save it as something. You can see that we're using file name a lot. So this file name is what we're turning into right here, and then we're processing a callback for the file name, and then we're using this file name finally to indicate that it's going to be part of the schema and under the key of image. We're using slice because we want to get rid of the first 9 characters of the index. The randomizer method is something that I just found on Stack Overflow, which will randomize a string of characters. So here we're passing in the length. How long do we want the string to be? We want it to be 32 characters long, composed of a random 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, capital and lowercase. So the result will look something like this. Now if you haven't already, add an uploads folder to your images under the assets, so client assets images that uploads, and this is going to be the result, and this location is what will be saved in our database. Now in order to test this out, let's add a controller to our front end. We're going to create an add scrape post method. Now I'm going to explain a little bit about this method that we created. First, we're defining an object, and we're setting key value pairs. Let's take a look at our look model and compare these two. We're assigning various scope dot whatevers which correlate to ng model to various keys, and these keys are directly related to what we find in the schema. So once we declare our object, we are injecting it as the second parameter when we're making our HTTP post call, and we're doing it to the route that we just created called scrape upload. So once we've successfully posted our data to our server, then we're going to set some parameters. So we're going to clear the title and the link, and we're going to add the new look that we've created to our front end. And if there are any errors, then we'll catch them, and we'll give ourselves a message, and we'll still reset our details. So now let's save this file, and hopefully it works. And if it does work, then we'll get some messages in our console and in our Node server console as well. Okay, so this saved on the back end. It didn't get pushed to the front end for some reason, maybe because we haven't defined our alert method yet. Oh, cannot read property of slice. Okay, so I must have incorrectly coded that up. But as you can see, it was posted to our backend, so this was actually saved to our backend. It is giving me the link URL, which is incorrect, but everything else looks good. The creator, you can see that we put in the scope user _ID over here. Right. So all of these where we're defining scope.user was originally set up top. See, we're setting scope.author, scope.user to ourselves, and then we're able to get the schema keys that we've defined, and then we can use them to set and to save when we're uploading our image. So one of the corrections will be, this should be scope.look.link. You guys probably already caught that. This isn't working yet, probably because we haven't defined our looks array, which we will in the next 1 or 2 videos.